Hello, my name is Marian Zaki, and I'm an assistant professor here in the College of Science and Engineering, and I teach in computer science and cyber engineering courses here. I'm originally from Egypt, born and raised in Egypt, Cairo specifically. Earned my bachelor's and master's degree both in computer science and information systems from one of the biggest public universities in Cairo. My master's program was dedicated, my research was oriented and dedicated to do research in security systems. And I was blessed at that time to work with two advisors who were the cybersecurity consultants for the Egyptian Armed Forces at that time. They adopted me. I knew nothing after I graduated with my bachelor's degree about security. Back then, 20 years ago, security wasn't a big buzzword at that time. So they adopted me, they taught me a lot about security, a whole year of just prepping me to start my research, and then a year and a half I continued doing research with them, and I did some work with them as well. They are the ones who encouraged me to apply and do my PhD degree here in the United States. They saw high potential in me, and they said, we want you to go to a top research university and get your PhD degree from the United States. And I took their advice. I applied. I was planning to apply to a bunch of universities, but my top one that I chose was the University of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. For a good reason. Both my parents earned their PhD degrees from the University of Pittsburgh back in the early 70s, even before I was born. So growing up, I had photo albums of the University of Pittsburgh, black and white. My sister was with them at that time, and so they had connected with people, made lifetime friends from the university. Christmas cards were coming into our house from Pittsburgh, and so that was my top choice. I got accepted from the very first application, so I didn't need to apply anywhere else. And I came with my family, my husband and my little daughter at that time, started my PhD program in computer science with the mindset that I will be doing research in security. So 3 years later, I had to move into the Houston area for family reasons. I took a couple of years off from my PhD program. By that time, I was settled here in the Houston area, and then I started doing my PhD remotely, continued the research, continued publishing, and finished my dissertation, and joined HBU in 2019.
What a story.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it is amazing just hearing your story.
It is a long story. I just gave you snippets of it, yeah.
Well, how cool. Your mom and dad went to the University of Pittsburgh. You went there, PhD, computer science.
Yeah.
I'm listening to a podcast right now called Land of the Giants about two computer science Stanford guys that had a vision for a company called Google and turn the world around. I mean, computer science and cyber security, this is probably two of the most important areas in the world today.
They are.
Explain why.
Well, the way I look at computer science, to start with, computers, think of any area in our life, and it involves a computer in some aspect, right? Not necessarily your laptop or your desktop, but think of your watch, think of your refrigerator, think of your thermostat at home. These are all computer systems. Anything that has a processing power and connectivity power is considered computing. So you can see that computers are being embedded extensively in every area, in factories and healthcare and homes and houses and companies and buildings and all of that. And so it's an integral part of our lives nowadays. And so the demand for people who are capable of developing and designing those systems is increasing. And this is why computer science graduates, the need for them is on the rise. Now add to that the element of security, and now in the past people used to think of security as a bolted feature. You build your system, if it breaks or if something goes wrong, then you start fixing and patching it. That mindset is changing now. We're thinking of security by design, basically. From the day one when you're designing a system, you need to think of how you're going to integrate security in it, because it's an open world now. Everything is connected to the internet, and this just opens more back doors to threats and attacks, and it's getting scary out there. And so the need for cybersecurity skills to build systems with that security embedded in it is very essential now.
Indeed it is. I just finished reading what happened in Wuhan about the Wuhan virology lab that intersected the world.
Right.
And of course, how important was the security, the cybersecurity of all those unique codes that were, 15,000 bat viruses indexed in Wuhan. Mm-hmm. And we know of COVID-19, which is one. I mean, here you are at HBU, assistant professor of computer science. Talk to me at first. What are you teaching here? How can students come to HBU and benefit?
Our program is very different. So I've taught at different universities. From the minute I finished my bachelor's degree, I started teaching, actually. And then I taught at University of Pittsburgh when I was a grad student. And then when I came to Houston, I also taught at another university here for 3 years before coming to HBU. I haven't seen any program that resembles what we're doing here. Very different. From day one, our students are, engaged heavily in critical thinking and problem-solving skills. What we call is project-based education. Every single course that we're designing here for our cybersecurity or cyber engineering students and computer science students has this learning by doing aspect of it. So all our classes are split into the theory, academic part, and then the lab part. Both integrated together. Freshman year is very different here. Students are, by the end of their freshman year, they would have designed an open-ended project. They've built something, they've coded it, they've tested it. They get to choose what they want to build. They have to choose a real-life world problem and solve it. That's freshman. And then moving on, sophomore year, we build on those skills and coding skills. And so we're constantly coding in class. It feels more like a lab rather than just lecturing. Mm-hmm. Moving forward, we take them and advance them into hardware design and how to code at a very low level. And so all of that, we thread in security in all our coursework. And we talk about, if you do that wrong line of code, or if you do this incorrectly, this opens a back door in your code. This opens a back door in the application that can be used to embed a virus or embed, a malware or embed a ransomware. And so it's unique, it's different, it's exciting, and it's very engaging.
Tim Cook, the CEO at Apple, said that every student should be learning code in high school.
I agree.
Now, that is such a different statement that you wouldn't have heard a decade or more ago. Why is that? I mean, I know it's true, but why is that?
The way I think of it is, at some point, I think that is coming very soon. Every professional, every engineer, regardless of what type of engineering you're doing, you'll need to be able to configure and program and code little pieces for a particular hardware equipment that you'll have. There's a high trend of moving into dedicated processors and dedicated computers to solve particular problems rather than general purpose computing machines that we have nowadays. And if that's going to be the trend, we'll need to have a larger base of people who learn and know how to code within their respective fields. So you could have a physician maybe who needs to code at some point a script to do something, to extract information in a different way from about their patients, to help them do their research. And I think it's a necessary skill also because coding helps your brain become an automatic problem solver. That logical thinking that comes with coding is a necessary skill. And if you start it from high school, it will make it much easier to grasp these concepts as you move into college years, whatever you're studying. So I'm a big advocate of teaching, even middle schools. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Dr. Marian Zaki, Assistant Professor of Computer Science in the College of Science and Engineering at HBU. We envision a future day of a STEM building at HBU, and which is fascinating to talk about. Now, you did a PhD at the University of Pittsburgh. What was your thesis in?
My thesis was in designing secure distributed systems. So I touched on multiple different distributed systems, like sensors. If you deploy a bunch of sensors in a field or in a factory, and how can they communicate securely? I've looked into cloud servers and how do you secure transactions that are being held on cloud servers. I've looked at database and stream database systems. So with every system, I studied the features and the criteria and the constraints of that system. And when you look at embedding security, security doesn't come for free. Security involves a lot of overheads that are induced in the system performance. And so what I was looking at is how to balance security without affecting the performance of these systems, given the constraints they're operating on. So what I call is the 3 Ps. That was my dissertation big theme, which is balancing performance and precision and privacy. Balancing all those 3 in different systems that have different trade-offs and requirements. So that's what I worked on. It's quite exciting.
Very good. Now, it says you're a Sunday school teacher at Sugar Creek Baptist Church, and you're from Cairo.
Right.
Very strong Muslim population in Cairo and Egypt.
Yes.
How did you become a Christian?
I was born and raised in a Christian family.
In Egypt?
In Egypt, yeah. So yeah, church was part of my life growing up. Every Sunday, my dad was a deacon at the church, growing up in a church is one thing, and getting to know Jesus as your personal Savior and your lifetime friend is one thing. This was around my high school years when I came to really know that it's not by me going to church and praying and memorizing and singing and doing all of that. It's more of a relationship. And that was during my high school years. During my high school, I started volunteering in Sunday school. And I continued my passion being around kids. And when I came to the States, I tried to find a church that I can plug in and teach here. And I love it because of the diversity. Just being around kids from all over the world, and it's beautiful, a beautiful experience.
I totally agree with that. And incidentally, I mean, the faith component is a real component at HBU. I think it gives a distinct advantage in a lot of ways. One is that faculty really care about kids here. They're not just a number, but how do you see it? I mean, you're assistant professor of computer science. How does the faith factor at HBU make that even more special?
It's very emphasized by everybody, especially Dr. Sloan and Dr. Stan Napper, who's currently our provost, but he was the inaugural dean of the College of Engineering, and then he became the dean of Science and Engineering. And he's a godly man, he loves the Lord, he loves serving the Lord, and that's why he came to HBU. And so from day one, he was like, think of ways of how to integrate your faith in computer science, because it's very, very unique. Nobody talks a lot about that. And so that challenged me. Like when I came here, I wanted to do that because I've given the opportunity and the green light to do that. So let me think of ways to do that. And it's been a learning process, It doesn't come naturally to think about your career and how it integrates with faith. But the more I got to read more about it, and the more I started to intentionally think of how I can deliver my classes and lessons with my faith integrated, the more I found that, oh, there are endless opportunities of doing that. Just let's talk about the basics, ethics in computer science. I have my students coming into my class and like they're excited. Oh, are you going to teach us how to hack? I'm like, no. I'm going to teach you how hackers hack systems, but we, as Christians, we protect, we defend, we build security. We realize the importance of ethics in our field. We talk a lot about the social impacts of computer science. So I had my students watch the Social Dilemma documentary, and we did a big discussion on that in class. Can you see the impact of the code you're writing? It can transform generations. It can change mindsets. It can create positive or negative impact. We talk a lot about that, and like, God has given you the skills to build something. How are you going to use that for the glory of God? I had this interesting discussion with Dr. Jeff Green one time, and he was like, is there a Christian code, a non-Christian code? And I told him, yes, there is a non-Christian code. The code you're writing can have huge impact because this is going to be an application that's going to fall in the hands of a 2-year-older or a 7-year-older. It's going to fall in the hands of the good and the bad. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to code that application in a way that will protect more than cause any harm or any potential, social harm for anybody?
What you're saying makes a lot of sense to me, because if you type in Google and you say, what is a family? Google has an algorithm that'll geo-target you, and they will present a composition of what they think a family is, according to many different algorithms. And unfortunately, as we know, many of these big tech companies, you can't even get a job there if you don't sign off on this social litmus test that is, in some cases, totally alien to what we've learned in the scriptures. I mean, your statements a moment ago prove the point. When we have this kind of skill, we can use it for the good or we can use it for the bad. And ethics is a very important thing. Christian ethics takes it to a whole new level.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to just, before we close, I want you to just talk to a parent or a student considering the College of Science and Engineering at HBU. And if you would, Marian, just look in that camera and tell them why you think HBU should be the place they should come instead of another university.
For every student who is dreaming of becoming a computer scientist or a cyber engineer, Houston Baptist University is offering this new degree program. It's a startup program, but it's boosting and blooming. Record numbers of freshman students are coming every year. We're doubling or even more than that. And there's a good reason. The word is spreading out on how solid our program is, very unique. You'll be learning new things from day one, no wasted time. You'll be learning not only academic skills, but soft skills on how to work in a team, how to collaborate, how to innovate. You'll be given a lot of resources to expand on your knowledge. You'll be given the support of faculty that I haven't seen anywhere else. Every student is known by name. You'll be known by name. Your skills will be recognized. Your weaknesses will be recognized, and your strengths will be recognized. We'll work on improving your weaknesses and bringing you up to where you need to be, and we will challenge you with your strength. We'll expand and invest in you as much as possible. You'll have small classroom sizes. You'll have multiple resources here on campus to help make you a successful student and ensure you graduate on a timely manner. We have Success Center, we have tutoring, free resources, a great support system that I have not seen anywhere else. time to, time to learn, time to grow within a great community, loving. It feels like family here, and I can't encourage you more to come and try HBU. Try it out and see. My students are loving it. They're loving the small classroom sizes. They're loving what we're doing, and they're very successful.
Marian Zaki, what a gift you are to HBU.
Thank you.
What a light is in you. You have 2 daughters. What are their names?
I have Doris, and she's a freshman high school, and I have Emmy, and she is in 2nd grade. Yeah.
Wonderful, and a wonderful husband. It says that you enjoy handcrafting projects, organizing social events, and traveling to different places.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm a veteran traveler, and I get that. M. Zaki, Z-A-K-I, at hbu.edu. Get to know Dr. Zaki, 281-649-3389. And you can learn more at hbu.edu/science and engineering. And we want you to find the place for you at HBU. There's no question that we can't help you with an answer. hbu.edu/admissions, 281-649-3211. Our graduate school is making a difference at hbu.edu/grad. And of course, we acknowledge that burgeoning student audience we have online in almost all 50 states, hbuonline.com. Dr. Zaki, thanks so much for coming here today. Thanks for sharing with us. And we're going to be excited to see what God does in and through you and your team in the College of Science and Engineering the days ahead.
God is on the move here on campus, I can tell.